Good morning, guys. Name is William Echevarria. Today is week 8. And for those of you that may not know me, I am an educator, I am a cyber guy, I'm an investor, and I am a visionary. So this week is going to be a short week. We're going to keep it short and sweet, but not to say that it's going to be very, very impactful. Okay. It's going to be some really good information that is the foundation of how a lot of the investments work moving forward. Okay. So before we get started, I want to share something personal with you guys. I started off on this journey of personal health back in September. When I got on the scale, I was actually about 230 pounds. And for me, that was a big no-no. It was like definitely like too high for me. So I decided to take it upon myself and start going to the gym, start going a little bit better on my diet, being more stricter, being more on a regimen. And today I have to do like a progress report and start looking at my specs for the most part. And I wanted to share with you guys, it's a personal win for me, but just to open up and share with you guys. So my body weight now has dropped to 212. So that's a total of 18 pounds that I've lost in September to now. And my body fat now is at a composition of 12.63%. All right. So all those fat, thank you guys. So all that the extra weight that I had, I've been melting it off slowly but surely. And obviously I got some more specs in here, but this is more just on measuring, the body parts on me and whatnot. You guys are probably not interested in that. But the gist is that, results take time, right? So I started this in September. I've been being very consistent with it, with the exception of maybe some travel here and there, or maybe even the cheap meals here and there. But for the most part, I've been very strict on that. You can ask my wife; she's seen it. She's been helping me out and being an amazing support system for me. Making sure I get my macros in, my diet in, and everything. So with that, guys, I want to get into today's topic. So today's topic is a very, very simple one, and it's a very, very important one. And Michael, let me know if I can actually share the screen already. I think you make me a co-host typically. I just want to make sure. All right. Where is this? Share screen. Boom. All right, let me know if you can actually see that, guys.
Yep, I can see it.
Yep.
Perfect. All right. All right, so like we mentioned, today is week 8. All right, so this is the 8th time that we've come together, guys, and I love it. We're building upon these building blocks, so you can come up with your own wealth plan, right? So what we want to talk about today is assets versus liabilities. All right, so anybody that's done any kind of research into this topic, you've come across Robert Kiyosaki, and if you haven't come across Robert Kiyosaki, I definitely advise you to go Google him real quick. Kiyosaki is just like it sounds. I'm not sure if you can see it from there. There you go. On the spine of the book, you can see his name. All right, pick this book up. It is very, very crucial. All right, I've got this book for myself. I've had my wife read it. I have my kids read it. I've had to read this book a couple times because when I first read this book, I had no real concept of money like that. I still had the traditional way of thinking of getting a job, getting an education, moving up the corporate ladder, doing that kind of thing, right? So that was what my mindset was at the time, to keep on looking for promotions, keep on working for somebody else. And eventually that was going to be the ultimate game plan for me for retirement and for a good life. Well, this book right here changed a lot of stuff for me. All right. And this book is full of a lot of like real world experiences. It's very, very good. Okay, there's a lot of parables in there, but the biggest lesson that can be taken from this book is the way that he defines assets and liabilities. Okay, and it's something that a lot of individuals get incorrectly, right? So if I go into this next slide, if it actually moves, all right. Guys, just real quick, I'm trying to see, are you seeing the slide with the slide sorter on the bottom, or are you seeing the big slide?
We're seeing the bottom one as well.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, yeah, we'll work with that. Let me fix that for a second. Okay, share screen. All right, is that a little bit better for you guys?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. So, like I mentioned in there, simply put, the lesson that Robert has in there, okay, is that assets are things that put money in your pocket, and liabilities are things that take money out of your pocket. Very, very simple, right? So, no matter how you buy something, you know, you purchase it with the idea that it's going to be an asset. The idea has to follow this. Does it actually put money in your pocket? And it puts money in your pocket today, not money in your pocket like in the future, not money in the pocket like long term. It's got to put money in your pocket today. And if it doesn't fall into that category, then it falls under a liability because it's literally taking money out of your account right now and out of your pocket. Okay. So here's one of the biggest misconceptions that individuals have. Okay. A lot of people like to throw out the idea that my house is an asset. And yes, your house could be an asset. But realistically, if it's the house that you live in right now, by that definition that Robert had put in there, does it put money in your pocket? And if it's your primary residence, chances are it isn't, right? Because you got to pay that mortgage payment. Nobody else is doing that for you. Now, however, it can become an asset if you can rent that property. If you have someplace else that you can live at and somebody is paying that mortgage for you and making you a little bit of extra money on the side, then now not that becomes an asset. Or if you can rent out a basement, if you're in one of the northern states where you can do that, or if you have an efficiency or whatnot. But the idea is it's got to bring money into your pocket day one. That's how it falls into the asset category. Otherwise, what a lot of people think is like, oh, well, it's the equity that's in the house. Yeah, I can actually make that money later on in the future. Remember that rule. It's not putting money in your pocket today. Okay. It's putting money in your pocket possibly into the future. So that's not truly an asset because remember, with real estate, the money that you're making on it is not liquid. If you need money today for whatever kind of family emergency, for another investment, for just anything, you got a broken car and you need maintenance or something, you can't access that money today. You will have to go through a long, arduous process to be able to do that. A refi or a HELOC or a sale or something like that. So that's why it's not liquid and it doesn't give you money right then and there, right? That falls under the liability because you yourself are paying for it. Does that kind of make sense for you guys? Just make sure that it falls. Now, the same thing happens with a car. A lot of people end up saying the same thing with a car, like a car is an asset, the car is an asset. Again, the car is not putting money in your pocket right now. It can put money in your pocket when you sell it later on, if it's one of those collectible items where maybe, it's appreciating in value, which that's not a lot of the inventory that's in the automobile industry right now, right? But if you actually put that car to work for you, say that you were an Uber, excuse me, or a Lyft driver, or you rent it out like on one of the apps like Turo or I don't know if Airbnb has a section for that, but there's a lot of different services out there where you can rent out your car, and in that way, somebody else is paying your payment on it. Now that becomes an asset. And it's just a slight little way of thinking about it differently. Like, for example, me and my wife have been toying around with the idea of getting a slingshot. She loves the idea of a slingshot. She wants to do that. Like, I like two wheels myself, so I would definitely get a motorcycle, but she feels safer on a slingshot. And we've toyed around with the idea of getting one. And we're trying to do it the smart way, which is we can afford doing it right now. I don't want that payment for no reason, right? So the idea is now that we're toying around with it, let's buy the slingshot. Let's start renting it out already from day one, right? We start renting it out already from day one. Somebody else is already making my payment for the slingshot. And we don't need the slingshot every day of the week, right? We can probably have a slingshot 1 or 2 days out of the week if we want to take it out for a spin. And if we don't even want that, we can literally have somebody pay off the slingshot completely, keep on, renting it out week after week after week, and then we can go buy ourselves something completely different because it's already paid for. So now we have a money making machine. That's different than me going into it, just leveraging my credit, buying it, and just because the payments are affordable, a couple $100s a month or something like that, and then all of a sudden we have a toy that we're happy with, and it sits in the garage collecting dust. See, that's the different mindset of when you're just basically working paycheck to paycheck versus when now you have that wealthy mindset. And this is the kind of mindset that I want you guys to be in, especially when you're developing your own wealth plan, right? You get this understanding down, you're going to be good because then you're going to see the opportunities everywhere that you have. All right, so here's the flow of cash. Here's one of the other lessons that Robert Kiyosaki put out there. All right, and when I walk you through this thing, you guys are going to see that. I personally have had access and experience in all of these categories right now. All right, I've been in the poor category where basically it's money comes in, money comes out. That's that paycheck to paycheck life, and that sucks. Okay, that's when you're literally are trying to stretch out that $20 bill, as much as you can. You're over there counting like how much mileage you have, if you can actually make it to work on time. You're trying to figure out how many ramen noodles you can get. Like this life sucks for the most part, but it's that concept, right? You make a little bit of money and everything literally goes out on expenses. Okay. Faithfully, or fortunately, I've been able to graduate through that to the middle class. So I spent a good amount of time in this middle class category. But again, the middle class category has a slightly different approach to that. So as you can see, I went in, I got my education, I moved up the corporate ladder. So now my income increased. But then what ended up happening, like the rest of us, the moment your income increases, you want to increase your lifestyle as well. So now you're starting to create this, instead of having a good disparity so you can play with money or investments, now you're trying to increase your lifestyle because of your money. It's kind of weird, right? But it's just the human nature of it. So as you can see how this works, money comes in, we go straight to all our liabilities, right? This is the house payment because we need to live in a nice neighborhood, a nice house. It makes us feel good, for our families to grow, especially if you have a lot of kids. You definitely need space because you can't live in a one-bedroom apartment with like 5 kids. That's just chaotic, right? So you need to move into something a little bit bigger. So you spend money on that. You get your car payment, right? It could be a luxury car. It could be something a toy that you've been wanting, a sports car, something like that. Now all of your money is tied into all these liabilities, and now you start feeling the pressure of, man, I need to get that job. I need to get that sale. I need to make sure I got my hours. And now comes the stress of job security. Am I going to get fired? What's the economy looking like? What's this, that, and the third? And if you have those problems, you're always going to be a slave to the job. This is where a lot of people end up going into LLCs, and then like, okay, let's go into being an employee of myself because I can be in control of it. But what ends up happening is they still don't buy assets, right? They're still counting on that one source of income. All right. When we jump over into the rich side, this is why the rich keep on getting richer. When you hear that adage of, the rich keep on getting richer, the poor keep on getting poorer. The idea here is the fact that the rich, they produce their income off of the assets that they own. So when they're starting to buy something, they have to delay that gratification. Even though they're making money, they can't go straight to buying, the Gucci outfits. They can't go straight into buying, Fendi, Prada, this, that, and the third, the Rolex, the latest and greatest toy for that temporary fix that makes you feel good. They start actually buying into the assets. You start buying into these assets, and now what's starting to happen is you're starting to buy your freedom back, right? You're starting to buy that peace of mind, right? So let me see. There's a question in here. Let me get into it real quick. Be disciplined. Okay. Yeah. So Jeannie put a comment in there. Be disciplined and keep a modest lifestyle until you can level up. Absolutely. All right. So an example that me and Jeannie are talking about right here, right? So Jeannie has an opportunity where her brokers that she's working with right now, where she collects rev share, right? It's one of the business models that she has. Now she also has active income because when she makes her sales, her transactions, and then she has, however other splits that she has between her teams. But those are active incomes, and then that's an income that's based off of a company. Now, we're all operating in good faith. We all hope that everything is good. But what happens if that company has to change their policies, whether it's from an internal decision or an externally forced decision? Let's say they get a lawsuit or they get a change in policy. We can't do this. It's not sustainable anymore. Then what happens to all that rev share, right? If you put all of your eggs in one basket, you guys are literally betting the farm, right? So this is where you have to really diversify. And if you can see that on the rich side, they're buying everything, right? They're buying real estate, stocks, bonds, notes, intellectual property. You can buy a rack of them. There's tons of asset classes that are out there, but that's what starts feeding you. And that's a good segue into this next area, which is the asset classes. All right, so if you guys have heard online, whether it's TikTok or YouTube or word of mouth or whatnot, everybody always tells you you got to diversify, diversify, diversify. The thing that they don't explain to you, and it's kind of short defined, diversification has to mean outside of the asset class, right? A lot of people think, well, instead of putting everything into Facebook or instead of putting everything into Tesla, you're putting everything literally still in the stock market. Whether it's Tesla, whether it's Facebook, whether it's the S&P 500, whether it's NASDAQ, whether it's the Dow Jones, it's all in the same asset class. So what happens is, as you're looking in the news right now, okay, consumer price index goes up. Okay, inflation goes up. The stock market basically crashes. Everything looks bloody. You see everything looking red. All the charts are dipping. That means that everything that you had in there is taking a loss because you put it all inside the stock market, right? A true diversification is when you move your stuff across many different asset classes. And here are a couple examples of it. You obviously got the stock market and bonds, but you also have cash. You can also have real estate, Forex, crypto, commodities, gold, silver, all those, oil, collectibles. The collectibles can be a number of things, right? Those can be rare antiquities, can be baseball cards, can be old cars, can be anything that has like a sentimental value or a story that basically increases it. Fine art, NFTs, that's true diversification. Because here's the idea, guys. Let's say you have one asset in each one of those categories. And again, these are just a few of those, okay? When you look into this concept, you'll see that there's a lot more options that are out there for you. So what happens is you buy one in each one of these things. Now, let's say like what's happening right now, the stock market dips, right? If the stock market dips, chances are your art is still fine. So if you have a lot of things that are in art, the value of those art pieces is still holding true and it's still good. Now, the same thing could be for crypto. And as you can see what right now, what's happening between stocks and crypto, if you guys pay attention to it, they're not necessarily parallel to one another, right? You start seeing where there's fears, what's driven, right? There's some people who put a lot of money into the stock market and then they don't put money in the crypto. Then you start seeing people putting a lot of money into crypto and then crypto, takes a dump on everybody. What ends up happening? Now all of a sudden the fear moves it, they put it back over here into bonds, or they put it over here to commodities, or they put it to cash. So as you can see, where there is fear, people start moving their stuff around, right? The wealth starts getting transferred. But if you literally have something in all of these different classes, you're insulated. You have this level of protection. That's true diversification. So as you guys start building your portfolios, add some variety to that, right? Do a little bit of research on that. Start getting some variety. Go ahead and buy that vintage car that'll definitely hold its value. Go ahead and buy, some NFTs and just kind of hold it for a while and see what happens with those. Go ahead and keep some money in cash reserves. Definitely have your real estate portfolio. Build it up however you want to, whether it's a wholesale, whether it's buy and hold strategy, whether it's fix and flips, like have a variety of all of your assets and you guys should be good. All right. So with that, that's what I have for you for this week. Hopefully you guys got something out of it. I know that it was a short class, but like I said, it's a very, very crucial concept. Once you understand these concepts, as you start designing your own wealth plan, you'll start seeing how all of this makes sense, how you can actually like see, the light at the end of the tunnel. All right, guys. So with that, I want to open up the floor to any questions. If you guys have any comments or whatnot, and if not, definitely see you guys next week.